The perfect Luna. Celeste Nightshade stood on the balcony of the Silver Moon Pack mansion, watching the full moon rise over the forest that had been her home for 3 beautiful years. Her long silver hair caught the moonlight, making her look almost ethereal against the night sky. As Luna of one of the most powerful packs in the Northern Territories, she had everything a wolf could dream of: a strong mate, a loving pack, and the respect of every supernatural creature in the region. Alpha Damien Silverclaw was the envy of every male wolf. Tall, powerful, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes that could command armies with a single glance. When he had chosen Celeste as his mate during the moonlight ceremony 3 years ago, she thought she had found her fairy tale ending. She had devoted herself completely to being the perfect Luna, caring for pack members, settling disputes with wisdom beyond her years, and supporting her alpha in every decision. Tonight was special. Celeste touched her stomach gently, feeling the tiny flutter of life growing inside her. She was carrying Damien's heir, a secret she planned to reveal at tonight's pack celebration. The thought filled her with joy so pure it made her eyes shine with tears. Their child would unite 2 powerful bloodlines and bring even greater strength to Silver Moon Pack. Luna Celeste. A young Omega named Maya rushed onto the balcony, her face flushed with excitement. The celebration is about to begin. Everyone is waiting for you and the Alpha. Celeste smiled warmly at the girl. Thank you, Maya. Tell them I'll be down in just a moment. As Maya hurried away, Celeste took one last deep breath of the night air, memorizing this moment of perfect happiness. She had no idea it would be the last peaceful moment of her life. The poison celebration. The great hall was magnificent, decorated with silver ribbons and moonflowers that filled the air with their sweet fragrance. Hundreds of pack members had gathered to celebrate the anniversary of Celeste becoming their Luna. The love and respect they showed her was genuine, and it warmed her heart to see how the pack had flourished under her and Damien's leadership. But something felt wrong tonight. Celeste couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had settled in her chest. Her wolf was restless, pacing anxiously inside her mind, whimpering warnings she couldn't quite understand. She searched the crowd for Damien and found him standing near the throne, but he wasn't looking at her with his usual warmth. His expression was cold, distant, almost hostile. Beside him stood her younger sister, Vivian, who had joined the pack 6 months ago after her own pack was destroyed by rogues. Celeste had welcomed her with open arms, given her a home, and treated her like family. But now Vivian was standing too close to Damien, her hand resting possessively on his arm, and there was a calculating gleam in her green eyes that made Celeste's blood run cold. Brothers and sisters of Silver Moon Pack. Damien's voice boomed across the hall, silencing all conversation. Tonight, we gather not just to celebrate, but to reveal a terrible truth that has been hidden among us. Celeste's heart began to pound. What was he talking about? She moved forward, trying to catch his eye, but he deliberately looked away from her. For 3 years, I believed I had chosen wisely when I made Celeste Nightshade my Luna. Damien continued, his voice hard as steel. But I have been deceived. Tonight, I exposed the traitor who has been living in our midst, betraying us all. The crowd gasped and murmured in confusion. Celeste felt the world tilting beneath her feet. Damien, what are you saying? Her voice came out as a whisper, but in the sudden silence, everyone heard it. Beta Marcus stepped forward, holding a leather folder. His face showed no emotion as he addressed the pack. We have evidence that Luna Celeste has been secretly communicating with the Bloodfang Pack, our sworn enemies. She has been passing them information about our defenses, our patrol schedules, and our pack secrets. That's a lie. Celeste's voice rang out strong and clear despite her shock. I would never betray this pack. Damien, you know me. You know I would die before hurting any of our people. But Damien's eyes remained cold, unmoved by her words. The evidence is overwhelming, Celeste. Letters in your handwriting, meetings witnessed by pack members, payments made to rogue messengers. You have betrayed not just me, but every wolf who trusted you. Vivian stepped forward, fake tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, sister. I tried to warn Alpha Damien when I first discovered your treachery, but I hoped I was wrong. I hoped you would stop before anyone got hurt. But I can't stay silent any longer when our pack is in danger. The devastating truth. Celeste stared at her sister in disbelief. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical wound could. You did this? She whispered, understanding flooding through her. You planned this whole thing. But why, Vivian? What did I ever do to you? Vivian's fake tears disappeared, replaced by a cruel smile. What did you do? You had everything I wanted. You were always the pretty one, the powerful one, the one everyone loved. When our parents died, you inherited their strength while I got nothing. And then you took the one alpha I desired for myself. I never knew you wanted Damien, Celeste protested. You never said anything, because you were too busy being the perfect Luna to notice anyone else. Vivian's voice dripped with venom. Well, now it's my turn. Damien has finally seen you for what you really are. A weak, pathetic wolf who doesn't deserve to be Luna. Celeste turned desperately to Damien. Please, you can't believe this. Whatever evidence they've shown you, it's been fabricated. I love you. I love this pack. I'm carrying your child, Damien, our baby. For just a moment, something flickered in Damien's eyes. Doubt? Regret? But then Marcus whispered something in his ear, and his expression hardened again. Another lie to save yourself. The pack doctor examined you just this morning at my request. You're not pregnant. That's impossible, Celeste gasped. I haven't seen the pack doctor in weeks. But even as she spoke, she saw the pack doctor standing in the crowd, nodding reluctantly in agreement with Damien's words. They had gotten to everyone. The conspiracy was complete. Beta Marcus held up more papers. We also have evidence that Celeste planned to poison the Alpha and take control of the pack for herself. Several pack members have come forward with testimony about suspicious behavior. One by one, wolves Celeste had considered friends stood up and told lies about her. Each false testimony was like a dagger to her heart. She could see the fear in their eyes. They had been threatened or bribed into betraying her. But knowing that didn't make it hurt any less. The rejection. Damien descended from his throne and walked towards Celeste with slow, deliberate steps. The crowd parted before him, creating a path between Alpha and accused Luna. When he stood before her, Celeste could smell Vivian's scent all over him, and she understood with crushing certainty what had happened. Her sister had seduced her mate, poisoned his mind against her, and orchestrated this entire betrayal. Celeste Nightshade, Damien said formally, his voice devoid of any emotion. By the power vested in me as Alpha of Silvermoon Pack, I hereby reject you as my mate and Luna. May the moon goddess witness this severance and break the bond between us. The pain was instantaneous and excruciating. The mate bond, which had connected them for 3 years, began to tear apart like flesh being ripped from bone. Celeste fell to her knees, clutching her chest as agony radiated through every cell of her body. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but feel the devastating loss of her mate connection. But she refused to scream. She refused to give Vivian the satisfaction of seeing her completely broken. Through tears of pain, she looked up at Damien and said, I, Celeste Nightshade, accept your rejection. May you find the happiness you deserve with your new Luna. The words were laced with both pain and a subtle curse. He would get exactly what he deserved, and she knew that one day he would regret this moment with every fiber of his being. The bond snapped completely, and Celeste collapsed onto the cold marble floor. For a moment, there was only darkness and pain so intense she wished for death. When she opened her eyes again, Damien was already walking away from her, back to the throne where Vivian waited with triumph written across her face. Strip her of her Luna title and rank, Damien commanded without looking back. Exile her from our territory. If she is found within our borders after sunrise, she is to be killed on sight. Pack warriors moved forward to drag Celeste to her feet. Wolves who had once bowed to her with respect now looked at her with disgust and hatred. The lies had worked perfectly. In one night, She had gone from beloved Luna to hated traitor, into the forbidden Shadowlands. They dragged Celeste to the edge of pack territory and threw her across the border into the Shadowlands, a forbidden forest that even the bravest wolves feared to enter. Legends spoke of ancient magic that dwelled in those dark woods, of creatures more powerful and dangerous than any normal wolf could imagine. Most wolves who entered the Shadowlands never returned, and those who did came back changed, their minds broken by what they had witnessed. Celeste lay in the dirt and dead leaves, her body still racked with pain from the broken mate bond. Every breath felt like fire in her lungs. The baby, she thought suddenly, her hand, going to her stomach. Please let the baby be safe. She knew she was pregnant no matter what lies the corrupted pack doctor had told Damien. She could feel the tiny life growing inside her, could sense the powerful presence of her unborn child. As she struggled to her feet, dark clouds rolled across the moon, plunging the forest into near-total darkness. The temperature dropped dramatically, and Celeste's breath came out in visible puffs. She was wearing only the elegant dress she had worn to the celebration. No coat, no supplies, no protection against the elements or the dangers that lurked in these woods. A howl echoed through the trees, but it wasn't the howl of any normal wolf. This sound was deeper, more primal, carrying an ancient power that made Celeste's wolf cower in instinctive submission. She tried to run, but her injured body wouldn't cooperate. She managed only a few steps before collapsing again, her vision swimming with pain and exhaustion. Dark shapes moved between the trees, circling her like predators stalking wounded prey. Celeste could see glowing eyes in the darkness, too many pairs to count. Some were red, some were gold, some were colors that shouldn't exist in nature. The creatures of the Shadowlands had found her, and she was too weak to defend herself. "Please," she whispered to the moon goddess, tears streaming down her face. "If you have any mercy left for me, please protect my baby. Let my child live even if I must die here." The mysterious savior. Just as the creatures began to close in, a figure emerged from the deepest shadows of the forest. He was massive, even larger than Alpha Damien, with broad shoulders and a presence that radiated such pure power that the attacking creatures immediately retreated. His hair was as black as midnight, and when he stepped into a shaft of moonlight, Celeste saw that his eyes were a stunning silver color she had never seen before, like liquid mercury that seemed to glow with inner light. The mysterious stranger moved with fluid grace, positioning himself between Celeste and the circling predators. He didn't say a word, didn't make a sound, but the creatures melted back into the forest as if they had never been there. The power emanating from him was unlike anything Celeste had ever felt. It was ancient, primal, and absolutely terrifying. When the danger had passed, the stranger turned his attention to Celeste. His silver eyes studied her with an intensity that made her feel exposed and vulnerable. But there was no cruelty in that gaze, no judgment or disgust. Instead, she saw something that looked almost like recognition. "You're hurt," he said, his voice deep and resonant with an accent she couldn't quite place. It was as if he was speaking a language from another time, another world. "And you're with child. Both of you are in danger here. How did you?" Celeste started to ask how he knew about her pregnancy, but another wave of pain cut off her words. The trauma of the rejection was still tearing through her body, and she could feel herself slipping toward unconsciousness. The stranger moved quickly, catching her before she could fall. His touch was surprisingly gentle for someone so powerful, and Celeste felt a strange warmth spreading from where his hands made contact with her skin. It wasn't the mate bond, that was destroyed forever, but it was something else, something older and more mysterious. "Rest now," he murmured, lifting her easily into his arms as if she weighed nothing. "You're safe. I promise you. Both you and your child are under my protection now. No one will harm you again." As Celeste's consciousness faded, she caught his scent, wild and clean, like ancient forests and winter storms, with an underlying power that spoke of royalty and strength beyond measure. Her last thought before darkness claimed her was that she had been saved by someone far more than just a powerful rogue. This mysterious stranger was something special, something legendary, and somehow, her fate had just become tangled with his in ways she couldn't yet understand. Awakening in sanctuary. When Celeste opened her eyes again, she found herself lying on a comfortable bed in a warm, candlelit room. For a moment, she thought it had all been a terrible nightmare. The betrayal, the rejection, the exile. But then the phantom pain of the broken mate bond reminded her that everything had been horribly real. She sat up carefully, her hand immediately going to her stomach. Relief flooded through her when she felt the reassuring presence of her baby, still safe and growing despite everything that had happened. Her wolf stirred for the first time since the rejection, weak but alive, and equally protective of their unborn child. The room she was in looked ancient but well-maintained. Stone walls were covered with tapestries depicting wolves in various forms of transformation. Shelves held old books and mysterious objects that glowed with faint magical light. A fire burned in a stone fireplace, casting dancing shadows across the floor. "You're awake." The deep voice came from the doorway, and Celeste looked up to see her mysterious savior standing there. In the better light, she could see him more clearly. He was devastatingly handsome in a way that was almost supernatural. Strong features, sharp cheekbones, and those incredible silver eyes that seemed to see straight into her soul. He wore simple black clothing that somehow looked regal on his powerful frame. "Where am I?" Celeste asked, her voice hoarse from crying and screaming. "Who are you?" "You're in the sanctuary," he replied, moving into the room with that same fluid grace she had noticed before. "A safe place in the heart of the Shadowlands where wolves who have been wronged can find refuge and protection. As for who I am..." He paused, something unreadable flickering across his features. "My name is Kale, and I've been waiting a very long time for someone like you to arrive." "Someone like me?" Celeste wrapped her arms protectively around herself. "I'm nothing special. I'm just a rejected Luna with nowhere left to go." Kale's silver eyes seemed to glow brighter as he studied her. "You're far more than that, Celeste Nightshade. You carry a bloodline that hasn't been seen in centuries, a power that's been sleeping in your veins, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Your rejection, as painful as it was, has freed you from the bonds that were holding back your true nature." Celeste shook her head in confusion. "I don't understand. What are you talking about? I'm just a normal wolf from a normal pack." "Were your parents normal?" Kale asked quietly. "Or did they perhaps have abilities that others found unusual? Powers they kept hidden?" Celeste's breath caught in her throat. Her parents had died when she was young, but she remembered her mother's strange abilities. The way she could hear thoughts, see futures, heal wounds with just a touch. Her father had possessed impossible strength, could command other wolves with just his voice, and never seemed to age. They had taught her to hide her own emerging powers, warning her that there were those who would fear and destroy what they couldn't understand. "How do you know about my parents?" she whispered. Kale smiled, and for the first time, she saw sadness in his expression. "Because I knew them, Celeste. Long ago, before they went into hiding, before they took false names and pretended to be ordinary wolves. They were part of something ancient and powerful, the original bloodline, the first wolves created by the moon goddess herself. And that bloodline flows through you and the child you're carrying." The revelation hit Celeste like a physical blow. Everything she thought she knew about herself, about her family, about her place in the wolf world was suddenly thrown into question. And as Kale continued to speak, telling her about her true heritage and the power that awaited her, Celeste realized that her story wasn't ending in betrayal and exile. It was only just beginning. Destiny awaiting her. Would you like me to continue with Part 2? Transformation and Power next? H2 The Rogue Queen's Revenge, Part 2. Transformation and Power. 5 years of transformation. 5 years had passed since that terrible night when Celeste Nightshade lost everything. But the broken, devastated Luna who had been thrown into the Shadowlands no longer existed. In her place stood a powerful queen who commanded respect and inspired loyalty in every wolf who met her. The sanctuary had become Celeste's home, and under Kale's guidance, she had discovered abilities she never knew existed. The ancient bloodline that flowed through her veins had awakened fully after the rejection broke the bonds that held her power dormant. She could now sense emotions from miles away, communicate telepathically with any wolf who opened their mind to her, and heal injuries that would normally be fatal. Her strength had increased tenfold, and her wolf form was no longer the ordinary silver wolf she had been born as. Now she transformed into a magnificent creature with fur that shimmered like starlight and eyes that glowed with ancient power. But her greatest treasures were her children. The pregnancy that Damien had denied had resulted in twins, a boy and a girl who carried not just Celeste's original bloodline, but also inherited powers from their father's alpha lineage. They were unprecedented in the wolf world, and from the moment they were born, it was clear they were destined for greatness. Celeste stood on the training grounds watching her children practice their skills. At 5 years old, they already displayed abilities that most adult wolves would never possess. Her daughter, Luna, named after the title that had been stolen from Celeste, had silver hair like her mother and eyes that shifted between blue and gold depending on her mood. She could manipulate elements, calling water from the air and making fire dance in her small palms. Her son, Orion, had inherited his father's dark hair but his mother's silver eyes. He possessed the alpha command voice at an impossibly young age, and when he spoke with authority, even the oldest and strongest wolves in the sanctuary felt compelled to obey. But unlike his father, Orion used his power with wisdom and kindness, qualities Celeste had carefully instilled in both her children. "Mama, watch this," Luna called out excitedly. The little girl raised her hands, and the water from a nearby stream rose into the air, forming intricate patterns and shapes before crystallizing into beautiful ice sculptures. The other young wolves training nearby stopped to watch in amazement. Orion was sparring with teenage wolves 3 times his age, moving with speed and grace that shouldn't be possible for someone so young. He anticipated every attack, countered every move, and never once used excessive force. When he finally pinned his opponent, he immediately helped the older wolf to his feet with a respectful bow. "Your children are remarkable," Kale said, appearing silently beside Celeste as was his habit. Even after 5 years, she still hadn't gotten used to how quietly such a large male could move. "They will change the world someday." Celeste smiled, her heart swelling with pride and love. "They're everything I never knew I needed. When Damien rejected me, I thought my life was over. I didn't know it was actually just beginning." Kale's silver eyes studied her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. Over the years, she had grown comfortable with his presence, had come to rely on his guidance and strength. But there was always something more beneath the surface, an attraction neither of them acknowledged, a connection that went deeper than friendship or mentorship. "You've become more powerful than even I anticipated," Kale said quietly. "The original bloodline is strong in you, Celeste. Stronger than it was in your parents. When you're ready, when your children are ready, you'll be able to reclaim everything that was stolen from you and more." The Rogue Alliance. The sanctuary was no longer just a refuge for Celeste and her children. Over the past 5 years, it had grown into something much larger and more significant. Word had spread through the supernatural underground about a safe place where wronged wolves could find justice, where the weak could become strong, and where a new kind of pack was forming, one based on merit and honor rather than birth and politics. Wolves arrived almost daily now, each with their own story of betrayal, exile, or injustice. There was Marcus, no relation to the beta who had helped destroy Celeste, a former alpha who had been overthrown by his treacherous brother. There was Elena, an omega who had been sold to an abusive alpha and escaped at great personal cost. There was Thomas, a warrior who had been blamed for crimes he didn't commit to protect a corrupt pack leader's secrets. Each wolf who arrived broken and lost left stronger and transformed. Celeste had built more than a sanctuary. She had created an army of loyal, powerful wolves who were united by their shared experiences of injustice and their determination to create a better world. Today, Celeste stood before nearly 300 wolves in the great hall of the sanctuary, a massive cavern that Kale had expanded using ancient magic. The walls glowed with soft blue light from crystals embedded in the stone, and the air hummed with power from so many strong wolves gathered in one place. Brothers and sisters. Celeste's voice carried clearly to every corner of the hall, amplified by her developing powers. 5 years ago, I came to this place broken and alone, rejected by the wolf I had loved and betrayed by the family I had trusted. I thought my story had ended, but I was wrong. My story, our story, was just beginning. The assembled wolves listened with rapt attention. Many of them looked at Celeste with reverence bordering on worship. She had saved them, healed them, given them purpose when they had lost everything. To them, she wasn't just a powerful wolf. She was a queen worth following into any battle. We have all suffered at the hands of corrupt alphas, cruel pack politics, and systems that value power over justice, Celeste continued. We have all been told we were worthless, that we didn't matter, that we should accept our fates and be grateful for whatever scraps we were given. But we are not worthless. We are not weak. And we will not accept injustice anymore. The crowd erupted in cheers and howls of agreement. Celeste waited for the noise to die down before continuing. The time has come for us to stop hiding in the shadows. The time has come to show the wolf world that there is a new power rising. A power built on honor, loyalty, and justice. We are the Rogue Alliance, and we will no longer be ignored or dismissed. Marcus, the former Alpha, stepped forward. He had become one of Celeste's most trusted advisors and the leader of her warrior training program. My queen, many of us have personal grievances with the packs that wronged us. What is your plan? Do we seek revenge? Celeste shook her head. Not revenge, Marcus. Justice. There's a difference. Revenge is blind and destructive, driven by hatred and anger. Justice is clear-eyed and constructive, driven by the desire to make things right and prevent future wrongs. We will expose corruption where we find it. We will offer refuge to those who need it, and we will show the wolf is a better way to live than in fear of cruel alphas and corrupt systems. Elena, the escaped Omega, spoke up. But my queen, the established packs won't simply accept our interference. They'll see us as a threat. They'll attack us. Let them try. Kale's deep voice resonated through the hall as he stepped forward to stand beside Celeste. Any pack that attacks the sanctuary will learn why the Shadowlands are feared. We have the advantage of location, numbers, and something they lack. We have a cause worth fighting for. The wolves cheered again, their confidence bolstered by Kale's words. Celeste looked at him gratefully. He had been her rock throughout these 5 years, her teacher, her protector, and increasingly, something more that neither of them had fully acknowledged yet. Ancient bloodline revealed. That night, after the assembly had ended and her children were asleep, Celeste found Kale in the library. A vast underground chamber filled with books and scrolls that dated back thousands of years. He was studying an ancient text, his brow furrowed in concentration. Can't sleep? Celeste asked softly, not wanting to startle him. Kale looked up, and a slight smile crossed his handsome features. Old habits. I've spent centuries searching through these texts for answers. It's hard to break the pattern even when I've found what I was looking for. And what were you looking for? Celeste moved closer, genuinely curious. Despite spending 5 years together, Kale remained somewhat mysterious. He had told her about the original bloodline and her heritage, but he had revealed very little about himself. Kale was quiet for a long moment, his silver eyes studying her face as if memorizing every detail. Finally, he spoke. I was looking for the lost heir of the original bloodline. I was looking for you, Celeste. But why? Celeste sat down across from him. You've never fully explained why you were waiting for me specifically. There are other descendants of the original bloodline, aren't there? There were, Kale said carefully, but they were hunted down systematically over the centuries by those who feared their power. Your parents went into hiding to protect themselves and you. They changed their names, suppressed their powers, and lived as ordinary wolves to keep you safe. They succeeded. You're the last pure-blooded descendant of the original Alpha line. Celeste felt a chill run down her spine. The last one? But it means you're more important than you realize, Kale interrupted gently. The original bloodline wasn't just powerful, Celeste. It was pure. The first wolves created by the moon goddess herself carried her direct blessing, her divine power. Over thousands of years, that bloodline has been diluted through interbreeding with ordinary wolves until the original power was almost completely lost. But in you, it's pure again. And in your children, it's even stronger because they carry both the original bloodline and modern alpha genetics. Celeste's mind was reeling with this information. Why didn't you tell me all this before? Because you weren't ready, Kale said simply. 5 years ago, you were broken and grieving. You needed time to heal, to grow strong, to discover your powers gradually. If I had told you then that you were the last hope for restoring the true royal bloodline, the pressure would have destroyed you before you had a chance to become who you were meant to be. And who am I meant to be? Celeste asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Kale stood and walked around the table until he was standing directly in front of her. He reached out and gently tilted her chin up so she was looking directly into his silver eyes. You're meant to be the true queen of all wolves. Not just a Luna serving an alpha, but a sovereign ruler in your own right. The old laws, the ones written by the moon goddess herself, state that the original bloodline has the divine right to rule over all wolf packs. That right was lost when your ancestors went into hiding. But you can reclaim it. How? Celeste's voice came out as barely a whisper. The established packs would never accept some unknown wolf claiming to be their queen, no matter what bloodline I carry. They would if you had the support of the true king, Kale said quietly. They would if you had a mate whose bloodline was equal to yours in power and purity. Celeste's heart began to race as understanding dawned. Kale, who are you really? The true king's identity. Kale stepped back and took a deep breath. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of centuries. My full name is Kale Shadowbane, last surviving member of the Leakin royal family, direct descendant of the first Leakin created by the moon goddess to rule over wolves. I am what legends call the true king, the one who was prophesied to unite all wolf packs under a single, just rule. Celeste stared at him in shock. The Leakin royal family was thought to be extinct, wiped out in the Great War thousands of years ago. Every wolf child grew up hearing stories about the legendary true king who would one day return to restore peace and justice to the wolf world. She had thought they were just fairy tales. But if you're the true king, Celeste said slowly, why have you been hiding in the Shadowlands? Why haven't you claimed your throne? Because I couldn't do it alone, Kale replied. The prophecy states that the true king must find his true queen, the last descendant of the original bloodline, before he can reclaim his throne. Together, their combined bloodlines would create a royal line so powerful that no wolf could challenge their right to rule. I've been searching for over 3,000 years,